everybody, it's Adam here. I have gotten a question a lot recently from other nomads and expats and travelers. And the question has been, would you ever go back to the US? That's a big question. And then another one is, what do you wish that you knew before really truly leaving the US? Here are some things that I think you should know and consider before you leave the US, before you leave your home country, wherever you come from. Take these things into consideration. They might help you. There are going to be times where it's confusing as hell. There are going to be times where it's scary. There are going to be times where it's embarrassing. There are going to be times maybe where you feel a bit guilty or a bit ashamed. I feel bad sometimes that I feel I've left a lot of people behind. And that's, of course, led me to wanting to create this type of content, create this channel, because in a way I do want to speak to the people, and maybe you're one of them, that needs a little bit of extra support, could use a little bit of extra understanding, that you feel that you are understood and that someone is out here and gets what you're going through. And I don't mean for this to be daunting or to be scary, but the message is that if you really want to leave your home country, leave the US, leave wherever you're from, leave wherever you've been living, you're probably gonna have to fight for it a little bit. And it's not gonna be easy, and it's gonna be scary. But let that give you a sense of peace, knowing that that's normal, that that's okay. It's actually quite natural to feel scary and to feel concerned before you make such a big leap. And there's some sort of famous quote that I always liked where it was like, if a good life was easy, then it wouldn't be worth it, or it wouldn't be worth fighting for. So my encouragement and my challenge to you is don't let that overwhelm you. Don't let that discourage you. That fear, that concern, that doubt, let that actually be a bit of a signal and a compass to you that you need to head in the right direction. You need to head in this direction. The fact that it's actually a little bit scary or concerning could be actually a really good sort of, instead of a red flag, instead of actually a bad thing, could actually be a really good green flag that you need to actually head in that direction and conquer whatever's behind that fear, that uncertainty, that doubtology. You, and I guarantee you, you will have so much more of a fun time and a stress-free adventure in life if you can do what you can to take care of your basic needs and prepare for some of the most basic human needs in life. And so, of course, money and finances is a part of this, but as we know, right, money is essentially just a tool to trade value for something else. And so what that translates into is your healthcare, a place for you to be able to stay and feel comfortable, food, safety, shelter, clean water, clean air. These are things that are very easy to just throw aside. I know when I started traveling, I had been somewhat intentionally and sort of unintentionally and subconsciously knowing that I wanted to take a big leap at some point. So I had been saving a lot over the years, and my parents and my dad especially had ingrained this sense of frugality and thriftiness into me, so I could actually really be prepared and really have the money saved so that I could take some sort of risk. I could go on some sort of uncharted adventure in my life. And that really gave me the peace of mind so that I had a travel insurance, so that I could, to be honest, actually I ended up doing a lot of couch surfing and a lot of hitchhiking. But that for me was also a part of the experience and also a way of challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone. I could have maybe stayed in nicer places if I wanted to, and you might want to. You might not really be at all comfortable with couch surfing, hitchhiking, Maybe there's countries that you'd like to go to, but they don't have necessarily the best reputation for health and safety and security. So it's important to have some level of preparation. I don't want to scare you away from taking the leap of faith and that you end up kind of in constant preparation, years and years of just not taking the leap and just preparing yourself. Don't do that. Absolutely do not do that. I do think in some ways it's better to take the leap of faith than to get stuck in over-analysis, overthinking, and as they say, paralysis by analysis. So please don't do that. But a little preparation goes a long way. And I hate that the world, of course, and so much of life does run on money in some ways, but there are still a lot of really great tools and platforms like Couchsurfing. There's another one called Be Welcome. I'm sure there's a few other websites like this that you can find. Then there's things like hitchhiking. Of course, in Europe and even in some parts of the US, there's very affordable coach buses like Flixbus or Blah Blah Bus or Greyhound. But it's very important to have some basis there, and I do hate that money is always such a necessary, it causes the idea of travel to be very anxiety inducing and to be inaccessible for so many people, and I hate that. But the reality is that, as they say, there's no free lunch, and you can find very creative ways to make traveling affordable, but please just be careful and don't skimp on the basics like your health and your safety. These are, really important things to have taken care of, and you'll have a much more satisfying and fulfilled and good experience if you can have that peace of mind that's got your back. It can make such a massive difference if you really prepare yourself a bit in advance to be able to speak, right? To be able to speak English, to be able to speak Spanish, to be able to speak French or German, or even when I was in Japan, I actually spent a lot of time just trying to have the basics, and people would kind of freak out. I loved it in Japan and in Italy. People would freak out and were so impressed that I could even just say a few words or a few sentences and some basic necessary travel phrases in their language. They loved it, but countries where there's a lot of wealth and resources and abundance and prosperity, and realistically speaking, we maybe have the money, the disposable income to spend on travel, to spend on being, living a life abroad, to even leaving our home country. That in and of itself is somewhat inherently a real privilege and a real luxury. And I think the best thing that we can do to really honor and respect that privilege is to respect the other countries, the other cultures, the other people that we're going to run into out in the world. And I think the biggest foundation of showing that level of respect is taking it slow and taking it chill. Because I have met so many travelers that are running through some sort of, I have them here myself, some sort of checklist that they've created. And it's okay,
I want to go to Brazil and Panama and Costa Rica and Mexico and Canada and Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France, the UK, Norway.
It's take it easy and slow down. Life and the world is not some sort of checklist that we're just trying to work through. And the more we turn it into that, the more our experience in general, but the more that our experience of the cultures and the people of the world is dumbed down into the simple stereotypes of those countries and places. It takes a real significant amount of time, which I know not everybody has, but you're here on this channel, so I assume you have some time to do this type of stuff, or otherwise you probably wouldn't watch videos of me. But please, please, please just take your time and be conscious and intentional and really mindful of what countries, what cultures, what places do you really want to see? Think about it in that classic sense of less is more and quality over quantity, because this is so key. You can have such a truly profound experience of travel and of life. You can have a truly life-changing experience by giving yourself a little bit of time to settle in and even integrate a little bit into another country and to really see what life is like in that place, really get to know the people there, really make some friends there, versus being in a different country every few days or every week. I met this guy in Japan, in Kyoto, and I think he was in his late 20s. And his goal was that he wanted to visit like 50 countries before he turned 30. So within like a span of 3 months or something like that, he was bopping around to so many different places and so many different countries. And I kind of tried to ask him, like, so what did you take away from some of these countries, some of these cultures? Were you able to make some friends, some deeper connections? Were you able to learn about their history, their history, their present? Where do they want to go in the future? And, minus a lot about him and a lot of pictures and videos, I don't really know what he necessarily took away from those places. So I'm not trying to throw shade or judgment at other people. To each their own, and you do you. But from my perspective, if you really want to have a transformational experience of life in the world, in this incredible big blue planet that we are living on, the best way to do it is to take it slow and take your time. And for so many of us coming from, let's say, North America and Northern Europe, and we have this very productive to-do list, and that can actually kind of rob you from just the experience of your journey, the experience of a place. So please, 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 just take your time, slow it down, less is more, and quality over quantity. Really sit down and think about, what are 3 places that I would love to go to, and really focus on just those places and map it out, plan it out, and enjoy it. And maybe you're really just moving abroad and then you're just going to be an expat in one place or something like that. Well, it's a totally different story, and you probably have a bit of a different mindset. But anyways, I would just say I'm a huge proponent of the slow travel, the slow life, and sort of the slow nomad. And I think, to be honest with you, and we see it here more and more in various countries across Europe, for example, in Portugal, in Spain, in Barcelona, in Amsterdam, etc., there is quite a bit of an uproar and an anger and a frustration and a backlash against these tourists that just fly in and fly out and kind of chaotically stumble their way through the city. They're not really conscious, they're not really present, they're running into you, they're constantly looking at their phone. God forbid they get hit by a car or a bicycle. When I was with friends in Amsterdam, I thought for sure someone's gonna get hit by a bicycle at some point. So let's just be more slow and conscious and mindful and respectful travelers. That is so important. And just take some time to also maybe recognize your feelings and your emotions as you're traveling. You're probably gonna have moments, like a lot of us do, where there's like a weird sense of maybe being homesick. There's a bit of melancholy. There's a little bit of, I think you could even potentially call it like grief and loss. If you've really left your home country, if you've really left wherever was your home before, your family and friends, if you've really left these things behind and you've really now been gone for a month or 2 or 3 or even more than that, of course, there's a very good chance that you might have these feelings, these like very confusing and conflicting feelings at times, where you're kind of like, well, I have all this freedom, I have all this travel potential, I'm going to all these beautiful places, I can go kind of wherever I want. I've got this awesome opportunity and this new chapter, this new start on my hands. But something maybe feels a little bit weird, you know? Like you might feel little moments of sadness, moments of almost like loss. And you're kind of asking yourself like, well, where is this coming from? Like, why am I feeling like I've maybe lost something, or I'm disconnected from something, or I'm almost like you're maybe grieving something? We have to keep in mind, right, that like we live in this world with phones and computers and airplanes that get us from A to B, like teleporters almost. So it's in our head, we know that that old place or our family and friends are still out there, but our bodies and our souls and our spirits don't really work like this. You're gonna be somewhere where everything is new to you. Nothing is familiar, nothing is kind of comfortable or familiar in a way. Your friends and your family aren't there. You might be by yourself quite a lot. And you might, in your head, in your logical, rational mind, you might know that you didn't lose any of that stuff. It's still out there. But your body and your heart and your gut and your spirit might feel sad because you're not seeing your dog, your cat, your friends, your family, your mom, your dad, your best friend. It's something that is a very strange experience because on one hand, you're like, this is incredible. Look at this new life and this new adventure that I'm having. But on the other hand, you might feel kind of weird about it sometimes. And you might feel a bit of a sense of, loss. Be kind, be slow with yourself. And that's again this point, like I made earlier, take it slow. Allow yourself to have time to reconnect with your old home, to reconnect with your friends, your family, your siblings, your parents, your best friend. Take time for that. You're gonna really feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in this new place and I really wanna see that and I wanna see that. And at the hostel or at the hotel or wherever you're at, they're gonna recommend, oh, you need to do this, 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 and this, and this, and you should see that, 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 and that. Oh, and by the way, have you been to this country and that country? And it's again gonna be very quick to turn into some sort of almost like a to-do list of just sightseeing, right? Like, I mean, literally that's where the term comes from, sightseeing. And that's gonna kind of maybe be your to-do list in some ways, which is really fun, and I'm not shitting on that. Have fun with that. But just take some time to slow it down, to maybe be with yourself, and to maybe also, as best you can, with things like FaceTime and WhatsApp and whatever, video, Zoom, blah, blah, blah. Spend some time, if you can, with your old friends and your old family. If you can, and if it's not too far away, maybe, schedule a little trip to go back to home, wherever that is, and just reconnect with it, even just for a week. These are actually things that it took me a while to really figure out, but I need these touch points with my friends and family, with my mom, with old places that I lived and loved and became attached to, or otherwise you can start to feel very disconnected and confused and lost and detached. And so just, again, take time for those feelings and emotions and really reconnect with those things. I'm sure that whatever and why you wanted to start your travels, why you wanted to leave your home, why you wanted to leave your home country, the US, wherever you're coming from, I'm sure you have a lot of good reasons for it. Just don't forget that you're actually leaving behind quite a lot. And from your heart, your soul, your spirit, that's gonna be hard at times. And be kind, compassionate, loving, and slow with yourself on that. Don't be a robot. Don't try and just smooth all that over with more travels, more adventures, more to-do lists of sights to see, or you're gonna be like partying and drinking and out at clubs and, making new friends, of course. But don't neglect and don't forget the old stuff that was good, right? And try and take some time for that.